Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to take a look at this really cool new helicopter I got in just a few days ago. This is a Flybarless but yet beginner's helicopter by First Step RC is the name of this, the manufacturer. The model is the Heli 101, and this is, as I said, a Flybarless helicopter. So I'll explain that here in a moment if you're unfamiliar with that. I'm far from an expert on helicopters, but I know just enough to be able to comment on it. And this also has altitude hold. So this is of course gyro stabilized. It's not an acro helicopter, something that you would see on some of the stunt videos. And of course it comes in pink, and it looks like they also have a yellowish greenish color here. They also you can get, and it says that has 15-minute flight time, and I have to say that's probably pretty accurate. I didn't get an exact flight time, but I flew it really long the other day, and the battery wasn't even dead. And even the flight review you're going to see coming up in a few minutes, I didn't even run the battery. I took it inside and flew it for, I don't know, 7 or 8 more minutes with my daughter inside before the battery finally went dead. So let's take a closer look at the helicopter, and we'll take a look at accessories, a little bit you get here, and the controller. So again, here is the helicopter. Just this pink plastic canopy. It's really lightweight, so it's not going to be able to handle a whole lot of wind, so keep that in mind. But you can certainly fly it outside as long as it's not really windy, of course. But it's really a bit more of an indoor flyer for most circumstances, but it's rather sporty, and it's not super small. It's bigger than those SEMA and the little ones you buy at the grocery store. So it's not going to be as easy to fly inside. But again, it doesn't have that counterweight or fly bar that you see on the other toy helicopters that helps stabilize and counterbalance the rotor. So when it's flying on the other ones, that it helps to balance it. I don't understand all the mechanics behind that. But this being Flybarless, when these swing open, in the helicopter's moving, this helps to, there's servos in here, and there's 2 of them in here, and it will be hard to see in the video. But if you watch, when you watch a flight review, I do land it at one point and show you how when you move the controller, the pitch roll on the controller, the rotor will move a little bit in each direction, and that's to help move it, to balance it with the motion of the helicopter, so that the helicopter doesn't probably shake or oscillate or go crazy whenever it's moving in, pitching forward, and then the rotor's not doing the same thing. So that's what this does. It's of course much more advanced, and it probably requires more flight controller power and such compared to what they had years ago. But yeah, that's what that does. So here is the rear little deal that helps. I think that's to help it whenever you're yawing and stuff. But again, I'm far from the expert, so if you're a helicopter guy, you can correct me. But the little rotor here in the back that also spins, which all those other ones also have that as well. It comes with a charger. You need to use this micro USB charger because it has a little light that's, I think, red, and then it goes out when it's done charging. So if you use a regular micro USB, you're going to end up overcharging the battery, and that would be really, really bad, because if you overcharge the battery, you're going to, it would swell up and damage it. And then here is the controller. I have to go grab the battery. I'm not sure where the battery went. It might have fallen out, so I'll have to go grab that. I'll get it here in a second. It's a little plastic case battery. For some reason, it slides in right here. For some reason, I don't have it here at the table. I didn't realize I didn't have it till now, so I'll stop the video here in a minute and go grab it. I'm sure I can find it. And then you get the you get a little like Allen wrench and a Phillips screwdriver, I believe that is. Yeah, some little repair parts, the little pieces for the rear rotor, I believe, in there to do any kind of repairs. And then you get the two main rotors to replace, because as with any helicopter, just about all of them, maybe the most toyish grades might have some sort of a canopy prop guard. This doesn't. So if you hit the wall or hit something, you're going to damage these. These have some scuffs here where I flew out of the garage and a wind gust came and it caused the helicopter to dive on me, and I flew into the rock pile in our driveway. But everything's fine. It did nick them up a little bit. And then here is the controller. It reminds me sort of the controllers that MJX uses on some of their newer Bug series. It looks quite a bit like that. This is your take off in your landing. You press this, it fires a rotor, and it will take off. You can have altitude hold. That's one of the features that a lot of these drones have. And then you press it again to land. I think a long press will do an emergency motor kill. This button just does something to mode 1s and 2. Unless you can't fly with the mode 2 that's set at, don't even touch that. These are your trims here over here for your pitch roll, and this is a trim on the yaw. If the helicopter's wanting to yaw, which it shouldn't do, but it might. But this trim button for the throttle is actually to go between rates 1 and 2. So when you press this, it'll beep twice, and 2 beeps just increases the yaw does pick up considerably, and it pitches forward more, and it's of course sportier. So that's how you go between rate 1 and rate 2. I would stick to rate 1 if you're a beginner, but rate 2 is fun for flying outside. When you do press this button here to take off and land, there's a little red light here. That's your only real sign of power on the helicopter. It will flash as it's landing and flash as it takes off. And when you first fly, you might want to do a gyro calibration so that the drone knows what's level. And if you crash, I would recommend doing that as well. And that's where you hold both sticks down and to the left. Pretty common. A lot of drones will be left or to the right. This is down and to the left. And one thing I don't think the instruction manual mentioned is it might have maybe overlooked it, but you can also manually take off. And I think it was both sticks down and out. Started the props up, and then you can just give it throttle. I think it was both sticks down and in would stop the rotors if you fired them up, and then you wanted to decide you wanted to stop them. I'll show it in the flight review coming up. So if that's wrong, I'll correct myself out there. So let me go real quick and see if I can find the battery so I can show you. I don't know what the milliamp hour is on it, though it's possible the instruction manual might say, but I don't think it does. It's right in here. You can't see what the capacity is on that. Let's see, does it say anything right here? It says it takes about 75 minutes to charge the battery. That sounds about right. And it mentions a 15-minute flight time, which I think is probably pretty accurate. Shows the battery here, but it doesn't say anything about the capacity. Yeah, there's not any mention. Anyway, let me go real quick here and see if I can find the battery to show you guys, and then we'll go to that flight review. Alright guys, so I did find the battery sitting upstairs in the kitchen when I just got done test flying earlier, and it probably fell out of the helicopter. Again, I don't see any markings. It just tells you the battery goes this side up. You need to make sure that you don't put it upside down, so these little 3-pin connector here slides in and makes contact, and then the light will light up. There's no on and off switch. But again, here is that micro USB. Let me make sure it's focused in here. Micro USB connector that you plug it into, and again, you got to use the provided charger. Some of these batteries, a lot of times in the drones, will have a voltage regulator and light inside the battery, but this doesn't, so you have to use the provided charger. All right guys, let me just show you real quick how that battery does go in there. Just goes in like that, and then the light will light up there. Yep, that's how it works. I don't know how much juice it has. If it has enough juice here real quick, you just do the binding motion up and down. I'll see if I can show you guys how since I am here inside, how that the rotor moves with it. I don't know if you can see that, guys. I hold the servos are adjusting that, and that's different from fly-bar helicopters since this is flybarless. All right, that should wrap up the table review, guys. Let's head on outside now for that table review that I filmed earlier, so I'll be right back. All right, guys, so let's take the flybarless Heli 101 from First Step RC out now for a test flight. Now, I did do a practice run on this yesterday, a test flight. It's really, really fun. And I just wanted to, I'd never flown a flybarless before, so I just wanted to see how it worked. Now, the one thing I noticed is if there's a little bit of wind, it does have trouble being so light and being brushed. That, going into a headwind and the highest rate, it still struggled at times. So I'm going to start out here in my garage where I don't know there'll be really no breeze unless it comes in from the front. So I can show you a little bit there, and then I'll try to take it out and fly, because it really isn't very windy right now, so I think it'll be okay. But I thought I'd at least start out with it here indoors. So here is a battery. You just insert it here in the bottom, and it immediately powers up. There's no on and off switch. There's the red light, and I'm just going to grab the controller, and we'll set it down, and we'll bind it, and then we'll get it up in the air. So let's set it down here, turn on the controller, And I think you need to do an up, down, and now it's bound. And then you want to go ahead and do an auto takeoff. This is also auto landing. This is your speed rates. Should be in the lowest rate. So let's go ahead. We'll see if we need to trim it up at all. I had to trim it a little bit yesterday because I did hit that rock pile coming out of the garage. And even though I did a gyro calibration, it tended to need to be trimmed. And that could have been because I kind of scarred up the props a little bit. So a gyro calibration, if you want to do that first, is down, both sticks down to the left, and it beeps. So we'll go ahead and do that to start out. Let's go ahead and do a auto takeoff. So that looks pretty stable. It looks like it's going a little to the left. So I'm going to trim it up a little bit. After you do a gyro calibration, you might need to trim it a little bit. You shouldn't, but if your trims are off and it recalibrates, see, I need to do a little bit. Just want to trim it up a little bit, guys, because I did that a little bit yesterday, and it's still wanting to go to the left. All right, it looks pretty good. All right, there's the yaw rate, and that's the lowest rate. Let's go to the highest rate. Let me bring it up a little bit so you guys can see. And then here's the highest rate. And you can see, look at that. The yaw increases. It's sportier. Really whips around. The Flybarless is really cool because those servos are adjusting the rotor, and it doesn't use any kind of balancing, counterweights. Let's go back to the lowest rate. You can see it's not as sporty, but this would be a better rate for flying this helicopter indoors because it's so sporty in the highest rate. You have nothing to protect that rotor if you hit the walls, and you're going to scar up the rotors. Or you could even end up scarring up your walls a little bit with black marks. It does have an auto landing if you do that same button. Let's take it out now and fly it outside the garage. So I think it's going to be okay. Okay, so there's the lowest rate. I just want to start out in the garage just in case, so I could at least hover it there without it. See, it's out here, there's still enough breeze that you can't just trim it up and hover it. I would recommend trimming this helicopter up indoors so you're not affected by the wind. So I'm bringing it back. See, it's not, lowest rate's not really ideal for outside. So let's go up to the highest rate. Like, see, much sportier. It looks like there's a bit of a breeze here. I think it's going right to left. That's what it was yesterday. You can see the helicopter drifting off there. So if I go into that a little bit, which is not much, it does, it's a little slower that way, but you can just sort of let off it and let it glide with the wind if there's if you get the wind at its back. But this is a perfect day, actually, now that I'm out here more, to actually fly this helicopter outside. But I don't review too many helicopters. I've done a few of them on my channel. They've always been very popular, though. But I'm just, I want to keep calling it a drone. I'm so used to anything I'm flying is almost always been a drone. Now this is altitude hold. That's why the centers, it is gyro stabilized. This is not an acro capable helicopter. If you've seen those guys fly those, they're amazing. I mean, they hop around so fast flying those acro that it looks almost like it's CGI. It's literally, I mean, it's so fast. Your eye can't even keep up with it. It's unbelievable. Obviously, those are a stunt helicopter without any stabilization. But this is cool. I mean, this is going to give you more freedom, I believe, than a flybar for a helicopter. And at this price point, this is not a real expensive helicopter. I've not really seen too many flybarless ones down at this price. Again, this is brushed. And it has a really long, I think they advertised around a 15-minute flight time. I flew it yesterday, and there was much more wind yesterday. And I didn't even run it dead. The red light in the rear is your only power indicator on this. There's not any other LEDs on this. And that red light will flash whenever you're landing, and it also flashes during auto takeoff. Just sort of, I guess, a notification, because you may see that and think that means it's low battery. I'm pretty sure that will blink whenever it does reach LVC. I just didn't even reach that. Let's go over here and I'll do an auto landing. And you guys, I don't know if we're going to be able to see that. Let's try it again. Get closer. And see if that flashes. Yeah, see it's flashing now. Hopefully that shows up. Let's go ahead and do it. You have to use, there's no way, I don't believe, to do any kind of, well, they did unlock the props. I was gonna see, looks like maybe you can't unlock them manually. Both sticks down and out does. Okay, and both sticks down in stops it. I don't think the instructions told you that. One thing I wanted to show you guys though is, being this is Flybarless, I wanted to see if I could show you guys here how that rotor moves with the controls without you even having spinning. See how those, hopefully this shows up in my head cam, how when I move this around, that servo's adjusting that, and that's what a Flybarless does. It adjusts the tilt on the rotor to keep it balanced while you're flying and moving. All right, let's go ahead and let's try an auto takeoff. Excuse me, a manual takeoff. I didn't know you could do that yesterday. So both sticks down and out, I think I said. Now let's give it some throttle. Yeah. So you can take off. I don't think the instruction manual mentioned that. They did have the gyro calibration in there, which is both sticks down to the left, but I don't believe it mentioned you could manually start up the rotor. So you don't have to do an auto takeoff then. I thought you did, but I'm glad I figured that out. That's a little bit of experience just from all the drones I've reviewed over the years. That's both sticks down and in or out is usually your combinations to manually start the propellers or rotors, props, whatever you want to call it, depending on the craft. But you see, it's pretty sporty. In a way, it's really quick to yaw and whip around. It's much more agile than the Flybar version of toy helicopters I've flown. I'd like to get a brushless one someday, because I think that'd really be neat. So much more power, but this is fine. This is a good beginner helicopter, in my opinion. This is not difficult to fly. It is a little bit more difficult than a Flybar, the little SEMA toy, the smaller ones. I think this would be just fine. I would just keep it at a lower rate if you're just new to helicopters, or start out with a little SEMA Flybar version. Get comfortable with that, because you still have to be good at orientation. And obviously this helicopter, you almost have to stop and hover because you don't have lights or anything to tell your orientation with. Get comfortable with that, then you can move up to this. But I know this wasn't real expensive. I'll have a link to this at all the different Amazon US, Amazon UK, and I think there was Amazon Australia. There's 3 different links that the seller asked me to include, and I'll include those if you're interested in picking it up. I know it wasn't terribly expensive, and it comes with a it comes with some extra props in case you do break that rotor. That's good, because since it's there's nothing to protect the rotor on a helicopter, you're bound to scar them up. Mine were fine until I hit that rock pile. And I hit that rock pile coming out of the garage, and a gust of wind caused it to nosedive, and it just hit it didn't hurt it anymore than it just scarred up. Scarred up a little bit of the props. That's not a big deal on a helicopter. There's no camera on this, so it's not like you're gonna, the rotor gets a lot of balance, it's gonna cause jello, so we don't have to worry about that. A drone, you could scar up the props and then all of a sudden get vibrations, because that can cause the propellers to get out of balance. And this doesn't have any kind of flips or anything. I can't raise up and do a flip because, it's just a single rotor. It's not a stunt copter like a drone that you can kill a couple props and flip and recover. It's a little different. Yeah, this is really cool though. it's very agile, long flight time, very quiet. Just be mindful that since I think it'd be easier to fly this into your face. It's just a little bit more loose than a drone. A drone tends to, you may have prop guards on a drone, especially if you're a beginner, and that's going to protect stuff, and this doesn't have it. So wear sunglasses or something if you're flying this outdoors and you're just starting out, because you wouldn't want to hit your eyes with that propeller. But look, that's pretty, look how stable that is, guys. Outdoors, because we don't have a lot of wind today. Finally a pleasant day. But yeah, that's cool. All right, guys, I think that should be enough on this flight review. Again, if you're interested in this, there's purchase links down in the description of the video. So I appreciate you guys watching this. If you're new to the channel, you know, make sure you do click the subscribe button and click the bell so you're notified when I upload new videos. You'll know that I uploaded and you won't miss them. I'm waiting for the props to fire down. Sometimes when you land this, it takes it a moment for the gyros and accelerometer to realize it's reached the ground. So yeah, so make sure you click the bell and subscribe button if you're new to the channel. And as always, guys, have a wonderful day.
The power of the dark side.